Commissioner Nelson, you made a good point, and Dr. Eisenach just reiterated that. The money that is spent improperly could have been used to build out broadband. And this is part of the infrastructure program that we need to be doing as Americans. So this is really a stunning report, actually, and takes money away from deserving people. Now, Dr. Eisenach, you mentioned oversight that we should be exercising. But also, you seem to be really making a larger point. Do I understand really that it is your view that this whole program was just misdesigned from the start, and what we ought to do is go back and design and start from the ground up and design something that actually is more likely to work? Is that your point of view, and how would that? What would be the outline of that sort of program?
Well, Senator, thank you for the question, and yeah, that is my view. And I've outlined in my testimony 4 principles I think that we should follow in designing such a program. The first is just getting out of the way, and part of that is taxing telecommunication services. About 18% on average is what is paid on mobile mobile broadband service bills. Nationwide, about 7% of that is directly from the U.S. Universal Service Fund taxes at the federal level. That and other things ought to be done to stop taxing. It's a extremely regressive tax, so we ought to get out of the way in that regard, and in other respects, allowing broadband deployment to occur and prices to go down. Second, there is a question of targeting, whatever we do, better targeting support. So the fact that 19 out of 20 people who are receiving subsidies already had a cell phone or already had Lifeline service, that's not an effective program. We ought to use that money more effectively. Third, and I think this is the hard part, and I don't want to suggest it's easy, but the type of support that is needed by the vast majority of people who are offline today is much more qualitative than simply writing a $10 check. And so I cite in my testimony a number of studies which show that people who are not sufficiently connected to the internet today need training. They need personal assistance. We're talking about elderly people. We're talking about ethnic minorities who have problems with cultural and language issues. Those people need a lot more than a free or reduced price cell phone. And then, lastly, as I say, I do think it's time to realize the FCC is just not the right vehicle for this, and certainly writing checks to communications companies is not the right way to go.
Ms. Collier, Dr. Eisenach is speaking for himself, according to his testimony. I take it you're here speaking on behalf of Citizens Against Government Waste. And can we summarize that you largely agree with the position that Dr. Eisenach has taken?
Over the years, we've seen a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse within the Lifeline program, and the way the system is set up is setting it up to induce fraud in the program. We've seen that across the board with companies sending salesmen out in Colorado and Indiana and other states, just ginning up subscribership. So there does need to be a deep dive into the program to see where it can evolve. I think the National Verifier program that's been initiated, that's a good start. If we can have memorandums of understanding with the different states and the Universal Service program that will allow them to data share. I understand there's privacy concerns within states, but overall there does need to be an effective revamp of the program.
Mr. Bogdoyan, Dr. Eisenach said we need to quit writing checks to phone companies. What did the phone companies say to GAO?
Well, we did not have any contact with them other than when we performed our undercover work, which was essentially trying to enroll in the program and obtain the phone service. Do
you think that would have been a good idea?
I'm sorry?
Do you think that would have been a good idea to hear their take on the situation?
Well, the scope of our work was designed in a way that did not include extensive contact with the phone company.
Dr. Eisenach, what do you say to that?
Well, one really important caveat, I think we don't want to paint with too broad a brush here. There are a lot of people in this business who are doing the right thing for the right reasons, and I don't want to suggest every Lifeline provider out there is fly-by-night corrupt or doing anything other than the Lord's work.
Well, thank you for pointing that out.
That's number one. I don't want to be interpreted as painting with too broad a brush. But it is certainly true that there is a systematic incentive problem here. We have the fox guarding the henhouse. And all of these reforms essentially amount to, let's find a better class of fox or put up more chicken wire around the henhouse. But the basic dynamics of foxes and henhouses isn't going to stop until we change the structure of the program.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.